Greetings. Today I'm going to be talking about the first anniversary of my having shoulder surgery. Probably the last video I'm going to do where this is the main subject. I think, 1 year is probably enough. And I actually had it done on March 19th of last year. I'm doing this a couple of days beforehand because, I want to get it out on Thursday. I usually try to keep to a Thursday, Sunday schedule. Almost always Thursdays. Some Sundays I skip. So let's talk about this. I've done 2 other videos. I did a video a week after I had surgery. I did one 6 weeks after I had surgery. And then I did one last September where it wasn't necessarily about the shoulder surgery as much as the insurance company. We'll come back to them. So, how have I progressed? And why is my story different than anybody else's? Truthfully, I did a search on YouTube because I was curious to see how many people had actually done a video after a year talking about their shoulder surgery. I found 2. Now, it's possible that the search terms I tried to use only gave me 2 people, but there's been other people who've talked about it closer to when they had the surgery, but not a year later. And I thought I would add my 2 cents because I watched both of the other 2, and we have basically one thing in common, but then things start to deviate from there. So I'll start with the common thing, which is that after a year, we're all still in some kind of pain. And both of them basically said they didn't necessarily think it was going to take so long. But the one lady who talked about it said that at a certain point, she realized that her schedule was way off and that things were probably going to be a little bit worse than what she'd been told initially. Whereas the other guy, he's one of those physical guys, does a lot of exercises or whatever. I walk. So I don't do tons of any other kind of exercises except walking. But I did some exercises when I was going to physical therapy. Anyway, he thought that he would be fine because he already knew how to exercise. He was doing the physical therapy and he still has pain. But he's in better shape than I am when it comes to some of his movements. But we're all still in pain. So my deal is that I started physical therapy actually a week before I actually had surgery, which I didn't understand, but that's what the doctor wanted. And then I had my first session 3 days after shoulder surgery, which is just weird to me. But, his thought was the sooner you get going, the sooner you're going to heal. And I had some ups and then I had some downs. Early on, I was able to do a lot more than I thought I would. The very first time that I did a video, I was wearing this sling, which was just murder. I couldn't sleep because I don't sleep on my back. And when I tried to sleep on my back, my arm hurt here. And it was just miserable. So basically the first 6 or 7 weeks, I didn't really sleep all that much. And that didn't necessarily help. I was taking ibuprofen, and I was taking ibuprofen PM to sleep. They had given me some kind of medications, pain medications, oxycodone, and some other stuff. I didn't really want to take it. I took it 1 day. So at least I didn't have a lot of pain after the surgery. And for the most part, I never really had tons of pain. Every once in a while I would move wrong and I'd feel something. I had pain at night in bed. That was when the pain was the worst. But I didn't have general pain. But there were a lot of things I couldn't do. Obviously I couldn't lift my arm. My mother actually got sick the week after I had shoulder surgery, and then she went to a nursing home for rehab, which didn't turn out well, but we're not going to talk about that. So I didn't have anyone to help me do anything. My next door neighbor brought me cookies, which was nice, but in general, it was just all on me, and there was a lot I couldn't do because I had that sling on, and I had to wear it because I needed to try to keep my arm in a certain place. So I went to physical therapy, and those people were wonderful, but they were mean, vicious. If you've ever seen those torture movies, that's where some of the things they did felt like every once in a while. It was wild in the fact that we were still going through COVID, so everyone was wearing masks, but the first time this guy did, this thing that he had to do at my arm, which was supposed to be a stretching thing, he wore a full-faced with the plastic cover mask, and I said, oh no, I'm in trouble. It's the only time he wore it, but still I wondered about it. Anyway, we started with the physical therapy, and for a while things were going well. It was almost like I was going twice a week, but it was almost like every couple of weeks they were adding something new. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to be done with this in 4 or 5 months. Everything's going to be wonderful. Then we got to late June, and I started going backwards. My arm, I couldn't lift anything. I couldn't do any stretching. That was probably the most pain I was ever in. And my arm just basically froze up. So we had to back off for a couple of weeks just to get some motion. They only had a couple of things they had me doing, which was motion, so that I could at least keep my arm moving. But I couldn't lift anything. I couldn't do any stretching. And then we slowly went back into it. And I was getting okay. And then I broke my mother out of a nursing home. I did a video about that in November. If you want to see it, you can. But like I said, we're not generally talking about that, but that's important to the story because my mother had dementia. She'd been in 2 of the nursing homes. They both messed it up. I broke her out of the last one. I get her home. Mom can't do anything for herself. Now, like I said, I'm out of the sling, but I really have trouble lifting anything. Mom was not a Thumbelina, so I had to move my mother. And I had to use my right arm to move Mom. I had some help, but I didn't have help 24/7. So there's a lot of times it was just me trying to move her. And that was excruciating. And it was counter to what the physical therapy people were doing because my thought was, at least I'm exercising. This should help me to heal faster. It didn't. It went the other direction. It tightened up my arm a lot of times. And I would go in there and they would say, boy, you're stiff today. We're having difficulties. Well, I had to move Mom. It's just how that is. I had to take care of her, and that changed things up. So we get into late September. My mother passed away beginning of September, but we're still, I took 2 weeks off because I just mentally wasn't ready to go back for physical therapy. Then I decide I'm ready. I go back to physical therapy, and then I get the I get the letter from the insurance company saying I've got to meet these doctors. And I knew what was coming, but I'm thinking, I really can't still lift my arm. At the time, I could only basically lift it straight out because of other things that had happened. But the first appointment I had with him back in 2019, because I had no fault, it was a no fault thing. The guy basically spent 4 minutes with me and then I was gone. But in 2019, I wasn't thinking about getting the surgery. Obviously, 2021, I needed to get it because cortisone wasn't working anymore. So I had to go meet this guy and some other people, and I knew what was coming. I don't know why, but I knew what was coming. So eventually, the guy gets me in the room. He's writing some stuff down. He looks at me and says, "I've seen you before." I said, "Yeah, three years ago, right now." And he examined me for 2.5 minutes. That's what I'm saying. He wanted to see my shoulder, to see where the surgery happened. He wanted me to lift my arm. Like I said, I could only lift it laterally. Then 2 weeks later, I get a call from Blue Cross saying they had approved me for physical therapy. I said, but I'm under no fault. She says, oh, I don't know what's going on. Maybe you should call the orthopedic people who are doing the physical therapy. I called them, and they said they got a letter from No Fault canceling my coverage as of a certain date. And the next appointment I had was actually 3 days after that date. And I said, well, you know what? At this point, you might as well just cancel it all, because if No Fault isn't going to cover it, then I'm not going to be paying my deductible for it. I don't want to incur that because they get me 10 visits. Basically, that would have been $125 out of pocket every time. I didn't feel like spending $1,000 for that. I had other things to do. So I stopped physical therapy officially, I think we'll say the beginning of the second week of October. Doesn't mean I didn't still do some things, because even though I wasn't going to physical therapy, I had some exercises at home. So for probably 3 or 4 weeks, I was still religiously doing all the same exercises that I'd been doing at home. But I think that not having those folks there doing the stretching exercises where, like, they keep you down and then they move your arm and you just lay there and feel the pain and everything else, I think that I totally missed that. because I started tightening up every once in a while. And when I tightened up, there were things I couldn't do. For instance, 5-pound weight. I started with 2 pounds. I'd gotten up to 3. And then just before everything ended, I was up to 5-pound weights. The things they wanted me to do. Well, when my arm tightened up, I couldn't lift this one anymore. So I had to go down to the 3-pound weight because that's what I had at home. And then I had this, which is a roller. I was using it, I put it against the wall, and then I would roll my hand up because I didn't have a small rubber ball. At physical therapy, they had a small rubber ball. I had no kids. Matter of fact, I'm the only one in the house. So I didn't have any small rubber balls, but I could use this just fine. And the other exercises, after a while, I kind of stopped doing them. You just fall out of the habit. I've got, like I said, I had other things I needed to do, trying to get my business career back, going again, dealing with the depression of my mother passing away, going after the nursing home for how I believe they treated her. And like I said, that was a long story. I did a video about that. If any of y'all ever have any issues with your loved ones, I tell you how you can possibly beat the nursing home. Anyhow, so here we are now. Like I said, it's a few days later, or a few days from the 1-year anniversary. And what's the difference here? Okay, this is the left arm. This is the good arm. See how straight that is? See how nice that is? You can't see it all the way up to the height, but you can kind of see my arm is straight. This is the right arm, one with the surgery. That's as high as I can do it. You can see the difference even without seeing how high it is. I can't get it any higher than this on its own. I can do it with the roller, or every once in a while, I'll just go over to a wall and put both hands up there and do it that way. I have a cane, my dad's old cane, that if I hold it with the right arm and lift with the left, I can get both arms up there. So I use that also. I forgot to mention that, but I do that also. So I do that stretching. I do the thing with the roller. I can't lift this one, so I'm just basically doing it 3 pounds, and I don't do a lot with that one. And I have one other exercise that right now I'm going blank on, but they're just stretching. And over the last couple of weeks, my shoulder's been tightening up again, so the only one I've been able to do is this. I can't do the weights. The cane, I've tried that one, but the right arm's just saying, nah, I ain't playing that game. So, I'm still in pain. I don't have great motion with it. I don't feel the worst of the matter, though. I do every once in a while still have trouble sleeping, but I'm sleeping a lot better than I was. And I can hold a little bit more weight. If I don't have to lift my arm, if I just have to hold it down, I can lift weight, which makes it easier going to the grocery store to get stuff. But I can't hold a lot of weight. I can't hold the kind of weight I could hold before. But truth be told, most of my years, and I'm in my early 60s, I've carried the heaviest stuff with my left arm. So that's fine. I've gotten older, so I can't hold as much weight as I used to be able to do with my left arm. But I can't hold as much weight as I used to be able to hold with the right arm. It is what it is. Like I said, the other 2 videos that I saw, the people are having the same issue. The lady talking about hers has the most severe issues because I guess she had a third tendon that they went to look at and said that it wasn't ripped, but it's inflamed. And so they've given her some new medications to try to relieve her pain. This guy, you know what? He's talking about his shoulder, and then he gets down and he does something like 15 push-ups. Since the most push-ups I've ever been able to do in my life was 7, and I think I was 13 years old, I won't be doing that. But he still complained that he was in pain, that he, wasn't feeling as good as he thought he should. But he's still going to physical therapy. She's still going to physical therapy. I just wasn't doing it. I just wasn't in the mood to pay for 10 weeks, or 10 visits, actually 10 visits, over $1,000. No, I didn't think so. No. If you have no fault, they cover everything. But they will cut you in an instant. That's just how that works. Anyway, that's me. That's how I'm following up with it. If you have the shoulder surgery, you got to know that you quite possibly will be in some kind of pain for a year. Now, the other folks, just like me, we only go twice a week. Maybe it's possible that you can get the physical therapy people who are working with you to see if they can get permission to have 3 visits a week. That might have done it, but I had other things to do, so I could only do two days a week. The other folks could only do 2 days a week. At least it's worth asking if you can have more time to stretch and let them do their thing. I think that may be the only way that some people, heal faster. And yes, we all have different tolerances of pain. I told you early on, I had better tolerance of pain than a lot of other people did because I didn't need the pain killers during the day. I only needed it to help me try to get some sleep. It was still miserable, but you have to do what you have to do. But that's my story. If some of y'all have these issues, let me know what you think. And by the way, I also have done a couple of videos talking about medications and stuff that they gave me during the process and how that stuff messed me up. Mitchell don't like medications. What can I say? Anyway, that's what I got. I hope y'all have a wonderful week, and you take care.